hello, and welcome to June June's edition of the GSA ITC Educational Training Series. Today we have the Department of Defense Enterprise Software Initiative team. I'm your host, Rick Freeman, and I am from GSA ITC CSSD, that's Customer Strategic Solutions Division. Excuse me. And today we have the pleasure of having a contracting officer for the DoD and Department of Navy enterprise agreements, Mr. Larry Mark. So please, without further delay, please take it away, Larry.
Thanks, Rick, and good afternoon, everyone. As Rick mentioned, I am Larry Mark, one of the DoD ESI's contracting officers. We do also have on the line some other members of our ESI team that will be helping me field any questions at the end of the training. Hopefully, we'll have time. I have packed a lot of information in for today, so we'll go ahead and get started here. Before I go over the agenda, I did want to mention that I may use the term publisher or in place of OEM or original equipment manufacturer. I use them sometimes interchangeably, but publisher, these are referring to the brand names like Microsoft, SAP, Splunk, Trend Micro, etc., and not the resellers of these products. So today on the agenda, we're going to go over what DoD ESI is, review the DFARS 208.74, who the authorized users are, walk you through the ESI website. We'll review some of the what the available agreements we do have, go over the structure and the licensing terms of our agreements, go over the ordering procedures, and then, like I said, hopefully at the very end, be able to answer any of your questions you have. So what is DoD ESI? Enterprise Software Initiative is a joint DoD category management and strategic sourcing initiative to save time and money when you need to buy commercial off-the-shelf or COTS software, IT hardware, IT services. Our executive sponsor is the DoD CIO, and our goal and objectives are to leverage the DoD's buying power to bring scale and efficiencies when you are buying COTS IT, and to coordinate IT asset management across the entire enterprise. As seen in the boxes here at the bottom, we are streamlining the acquisition process, reducing risk and time to capability, and lowering the total cost of ownership for you and the DoD overall. So to give you a brief overview of DoD ESI, it was formed in 1998 by the CIOs across all of the DoD to save time and money on buying software. Shortly thereafter, it did expand to include IT services and hardware. And then ESI became the model for the federal-wide initiative launched by OMB and GSA. What we do is we establish enterprise agreements for you to use. We publish best practice tools on our website, esi.mil. We provide subject matter expert support via our help desk. And we maintain DoD ESI prices paid and spend database by reviewing prices paid under the agreement from our quarterly sales reports that we get back from the resellers, and then also provide workforce training like we're doing today. Some of the notable accomplishments is a $1.5 billion per year cost avoidance. And that is continuously increasing. And actually in fiscal year 23, we had a $1.8 billion cost avoidance for those that are using the ESI agreements. We do have 92 software publishers that we have master license agreements with. And then that makes up a portfolio of over 160 agreements with their resellers and other publishers as well. So some things that we are not a GWAC, so we're not a government-wide acquisition contract like NASA SUP or GSA. We are not an ordering office, so all of our agreements are decentralized. So you would utilize your own contracting office for ordering off of DoD ESI agreements. We also don't mandate requirements or solutions. We just provide the vehicles for you to utilize. And then we are also not a mission funded program. So we are reimbursable through an ACT fee that I'll go over here in a little bit. So very much similar to NASA SOUP and GSA on a reimbursable program. Well, I also want to show you how the Navy plays into this, because sometimes it can be confusing why you are talking to the Navy and not the DoD. As I mentioned, we are sponsored by the DoD CIO, and there is an ESI working group that is co-chaired by Ed Zick in the DoD CIO's office and Floyd Gross in the Navy's PEO Digital and Enterprise Services. PEO Digital leads the day-to-day strategic planning for DoD ESI execution. Then NIWC PAC executes the day-to-day operations by establishing and managing the ESI agreements. Our NIWC PAC IPT has two teams, one being our technical side with the software portfolio managers, or the SPMs, and the other our contracting team. So we are directed by the DoD to provide best-in-class results and resources. With that, DFARS 208.74 says that you shall fulfill the requirements using ESI when they are available. DoD Instruction 5000.82 states that ESI are the first choice and their use or non-use is required to be documented in your acquisition strategy. DoD Directive 8470.01 designates the Navy as the executive agent for CETAs, or Core Enterprise Technology Agreements. Then what we deliver are your enterprise agreements, policy guidance, and domain expertise, buyer guides, checklists, toolkits, and also training and education. So going into the DFARS, what the requirement is, 208.7402 provides the requirement to use ESI when an agreement is available. But the PGI provides more detailed instructions on that. When software or services are available and are the best value, you shall use our ESI agreements. However, if there isn't an ESI agreement, you can use other means, obviously. However, if an ESI is believed not to be the best value, there is a waiver process to follow. And this is all laid out in the PGI. First, you would notify the SPM for that agreement, and you would provide all the details and information you have as to why it would not be the best value. The SPM then has 3 business days to respond. If in the end, the ESI agreement is still not the best value, your leadership can grant the waiver from using ESI. Bear in mind, though, what you will see today and what I'll go over is that best value is not always the lowest price. When it comes to software, you have to consider the non-price terms and conditions and risks that I'll go over here in a little bit. I mentioned a CETA on the previous slide. A CETA is a designation given to some of our ESIs. Currently, we do have 3. The CETA designation by policy makes the agreement a required source with no exceptions or waivers, like the DFAR PGI provides for other ESI agreements. So once it's designated CETA, it is by policy then a required source with no exceptions. So who can use our DoD ESI agreements? They are all open to the DoD, all military departments, all agencies, all field activities. So if you work for the DoD, you are an authorized user. Also, our contractors and integrators may use it. normally with a letter of authorization. If it's a GSA BPA, they're using FAR Part 51. If it's off a NASA suit, they have their own letter of authorization process. So that is available to our integrators. If you're in foreign military sales, obviously if it's for DoD use purposes, it shouldn't be a problem. However, if the software is being used in something that is being sold or transferred to a foreign entity, just be aware of licensing terms where that may not actually be transferable. So you may not be able to use the ESI for those purposes. It is also open to the U.S. Coast Guard, as well as all of the federal intelligence community as well. There are some others, GSA or other ordering organizations, if they are ordering on behalf of the DoD or Coast Guard or the intel community. However, the required activity does have to be an authorized user that I mentioned above. And then also the funding has to be coming from that authorized user as well. All right, so we're going to go into the ESI.mil website. And here is a depiction of or what the landing page will look like when you get there. And in the middle, there'll be two columns that will list all of the ESI agreements, but I'll get to those here in a minute. I do want to draw your attention to the top menu bar there for training on the left-hand side. Our website does house a lot of training videos for you to use. They're general knowledge on buying commercial off-the-shelf software. There are 21 different categories with several videos within each category. They are short, anywhere from 2 to 5 minutes in length, so they don't take very long. And they're basically all on YouTube, so everyone should be able to access those without a problem. And then if you go to the middle of that menu is our Ask an Expert, where you can ask your questions and we will provide answers for those questions. You can request expert consultation, request training, and any other request you have for our teams. Then on the right-hand side of the menu there is our resources and tools, where you can find different checklists, toolkits, white papers, articles, and policy and guidance as well. And that's not limited to just ESI information. That is general commercial software buying as well. So even if you can't use ESI, there are tools there for you to use that should be able to help you in buying your software or other IT items. So back to trying to find a specific agreement on our website. So there are two different ways to do it. Either choose your publisher in the middle from the two columns. Here's just a short picture of it. That's actually a very lengthy page. Just be aware that not all of the publishers or agreements listed are ESI. We do provide links to other agreements that are available to you to use as well, such as the Army chess agreements, Navy enterprise license agreements, Air Force ones as well. So it does include more than just ESI. But if you click on the publisher, it will take you to our publisher page where you'll get more information. Or if you use the menu at the top, you can narrow it down to just software agreements, service agreements, or hardware agreements. If you were to go to the all agreements page, you can then further filter your search by type, ordering open to, or specific type of products. So if you're looking for cybersecurity or DevSecOps products, you can narrow the search down. Just a word of caution there, though, that since we strive to include all products and services of the publishers, and some companies offer a wide range of products, so they may not be included when you filter down. So just be aware of that, but you will get a good grouping. So if you did cybersecurity, it will provide you with the list of our cybersecurity category of companies. All right, so when you click on one of the publishers, here I use SAP as an example. First thing you'll see here in the brown letters is ordering open to. It will tell you who it's open to. If it's an ESI, you will at least see all DoD. SAP is a unique one where it still falls under the old GSA Smart Buy program. So this agreement is actually still open to all federal to use. Then the type, it will list if it's a CETA, if it's a BPA, or if it's a NASA SOUP catalog, or if it is an agency level enterprise agreement. On the next line down is the brand name JNA required, yes or no. This one actually provides you both. I'm going to go start at the right where it says no maintenance order. So if our justification at the agreement level covers certain things, we'll provide you that information. So specifically this one, our justification at the agreement level covers maintenance. So if you have an order for maintenance, software maintenance, you would not need to do a brand name justification because the justification at the agreement level already covers all orders for maintenance. However, on the other side, if you're buying new licenses, you would need to do a brand name justification for those purposes. And then down here on the left, under resellers and direct sales, will be the list of resellers. There will be 1, 3, 5, 14, 15 or more resellers listed. Any of the resellers for that publisher will be listed there. So if you only see one, there's only one reseller. If you see multiple, then it's a multiple award. And in that instance, if you have more than one reseller, you would need to solicit your requirement among all of the resellers. But if there's only one reseller listed, then you should be able to just solicit directly to the one reseller. Then once you click on a reseller, so here I picked Carahsoft. So clicked on Carahsoft and you get to an ordering info tab. And here gives you some basic information on the agreement, the effective dates of the ordering period, the BPA number, and some other applicable information. And then just above that, in the colorful buttons there, you have an ordering guide, product and price list, BPA documents. So if you were to click on ordering guide, you would be able to download the ordering guide for that agreement. Same thing as product and price list as well, and the BPA documents. Just for your awareness, if the documents are not housed in esi.mil, there will be a hyperlink directing you to where those documents are. Some of them might be on NASA SOUP, or some might be on an agency website like the Army Chess or Navy SharePoint site. So if they're not on our website, there will be a hyperlink to where you can find them at. On the next tab over is our point of contacts. We do get a lot of questions on who are point of contacts for certain agreements. If you come to our website, you find the agreement and you should be able to find the point of contacts. We would have one for each of the resellers there as well. So you'll find a point of contact for the reseller, the SPM from the DoD ESI team, and the contracting officer and specialist as well that manages that agreement. The next tab over is the terms and conditions. So here you will find our master license agreement or the software license agreement that is applicable to that agreement. And then also the FAR and DFARS clauses that we utilized to in the BPA or agreement. So that way they're there in a list for you. You can check what we used, what we may not have used. And then the last tab on the right, contract and mods. We will make available some of the applicable contracting documents. If you need something for your, if the contract specialist needs something for their contracting file, you can find it here. If something is not listed, then reach out to us and we will provide you a document if you need it for your file. So, all right. And so we do have some agreements that are under NASA suit. And like I said, there'll be a hyperlink that will direct you to where those documents are. So here, I just wanted to provide you how to find those. You do need an account with NASA suit. So you would need to log in. Then once you've logged in, you go up to the top menu, go to catalogs and marketplaces. You hover over that with your mouse, drop down menu comes down and you should see DoD ESI catalog. Now, for me personally, every time I go here, the first time I hover over catalogs and marketplaces, some reason ESI catalog never shows up. You take your mouse off of it, wait a few seconds, go back, and the DoD ESI catalog will show up. If you click on that, that will take you to our catalog specifically for ESI. And here you see 4 different categories on the bottom right here. One, Cisco, DevSecOps, Palo Alto, and Trellix. You click on those, that'll take you to another page where you will find all the applicable information for that publisher and that agreement as well. And actually, if you went there today, you'll actually see a 5th one called DevSecOps Phase 2. That was just added a few weeks ago. All right, so this here is a list of our 92 publishers. Some of the publishers are what you would call a standalone agreement. So where we put the agreement in place with one publisher and solicited the agreement among their resellers. Some examples of these would be Microsoft, Cisco, SAP. These are the ones that the DoD collectively buys or has an enormous amount of their products. So it just makes sense to go into an enterprise agreement, get good terms and conditions, get really good pricing and deeper discounts. Other publishers may fall into a category such as cybersecurity or DevSecOps, where we focused on right now, cybersecurity and DevSecOps is huge. So we focused on getting those publishers that we are using across the DoD in significant amounts. We got agreements with them in place as well to make ordering for you a lot easier. And you can see here as well, the ones highlighted in blue are the ones that are designated as CETAs. Like I said, there's 3 so far. There are some more in the pipeline, but as of right now, it's just SAP, Splunk, and Tanium. As I mentioned, we do have some categories. So the next 2 slides provide a breakdown of such categories. These categories can be solicited as brand name, or if you don't have a brand name requirement, then you can solicit all of the resellers. I do want to note here that each reseller does not provide each or all of the publishers in the category, or to say it another way, not all publishers are available by all resellers. So for instance, Carahsoft has several of these publishers, and another one may only have one. So, but the ordering guides will be very clear as to what publishers each reseller has. And then here are 3 more categories: DevSecOps, CAD/CAM, and IT research. Here I will note that the IT research and informative services category, there are no resellers. Each of these companies do provide similar services, so requirements can still be competed if if you don't have a brand name requirement for those particular services, but just know that there are no resellers, so they will be direct to that company. And since there are no resellers, it would actually be a sole source justification if you needed, for instance, just Gartner specifically. So how are the DoD ESI agreement structured? So we have really three different ways we put these agreements in place. Primarily, most of them are GSA BPAs. So they've been available through GSA BPAs since the very beginning. We have expanded out to utilizing NASA SOUP, agency catalogs or marketplaces. And then we're also putting in place some IEDIQ contracts as well. But regardless of the vehicle that we establish the agreements on, the basic structure is all the same. So you see here on the left, I've provided a visualization of basically what it looks like. There are several more attachments to each agreement, but these are the three basic pillars of an agreement. So at the very top is the ESI Master License Agreement, or MLA, and the End User License Agreement. So what we are doing is we are negotiating very specific DoD license agreement terms that are unique. Or I would say, I don't want to use the word unique, but this is where we're adding the benefit and adding value to you. And I'll go over what some of those terms are on the next slide. But we're negotiating those terms and conditions and adding them or attaching them to that company's end user license agreement. But our license agreement that we negotiate does take precedence over their commercial end user license agreement. So our terms and conditions are there to protect and add additional value to you and your end user. And then the bottom left, we also have terms and conditions that we do specifically with each reseller. So these terms and conditions you actually see normally in the body of the BPA or agreement. And these just lay out the rules and how the resellers have to operate and what their responsibilities are on managing the ESI agreements. In the bottom left, there is a product and price list where you will find all the products that are being offered, and as well as the ESI pricing. All right, so going into some of our licensing terms, we do try to standardize our terms and conditions. We do have a template that we start every terms and condition negotiation with. It's approximately about 25 pages in length. And so we start with standard. This is what we're going for. The end result, because each one is negotiated separately with each publisher. So there could be some differences, but all in all, you're going to find a lot of similarities, if not the same across the board from one publisher or one agreement to another agreement. So what makes these best in class and why they add value and reduce the risk? So a lot of times when you are buying software, you're buying the right to use that software under a license. And that license is to who bought it. So if you buy software, you don't necessarily always have the ability to transfer it to somebody else to use. So we always put in our terms that we need transferability across the DoD. Or across all users of our agreement. So what this means is if you're buying a perpetual license that you own in perpetuity, and you just have to pay every year for maintenance. If you no longer need that software, that, by the way, is also considered a capital asset, it would just basically go on the shelf, right? But with the transferability rights, you can transfer it to another agency or another office that is looking to buy that particular software. You're saving them the upfront capital cost of buying the perpetual license, to where they can just take over that license and pay for the annual maintenance from there on out. So basically saving the DoD money over the long term. The other one, audits. This is one that is actually reducing the risk for us significantly, especially in the way of Anti-Deficiency Act violations. Most commercial terms, audits, the publisher has the right to come in and audit your network or your system to verify that you are using their software in accordance with their license terms, and you're not using more licenses than you actually purchased. So ESI terms with auditability is we have self-audit rights. That means that if the publisher wants to audit the DoD or whomever has it under our agreement, we will do a self-audit. And we will tell them how we're using licenses. We'll give them the counts. And then there's also the protections of, to help us protect from the ADA, Anti-Deficiency Act violations, where, normally if you buy 50 licenses, but you end up finding out you're using 100 of them, you would be liable to pay for those 50 additional licenses and the back pay from when you started using them. Our terms don't allow that. We would start paying from the time that it was realized under the audit, and we would pay forward. So that way we're not put into an ADA situation. Virtualization is a great one. If your software is being used in a virtual environment, these rights could essentially is going to reduce the number of licenses required in your environment. In some cases, if you normally need 100 licenses, because of the virtualization, you may only need 50. That's just an example. So that reduces the number of licenses you would need. The next two, virus warranty and the errors and omissions insurance. So this is protecting us. Actually, this has been a fight, especially the virus warranty has been a fight out in the commercial world for a long time. But we try to get $1 million coverage in the way of a virus warranty, meaning that if the publisher software, we take delivery of the software and it gives us a virus, we are covered up to $1 million for them to reimburse us to remove the software, remove the virus, and fix any damage that virus may have done. And the errors omissions, that's up to a $2 million coverage is what we're looking for. Again, some of these you will see that there might be differences from one agreement to another, but we always definitely go in and start at the $1 million per event. Cloud and deploying to a third party cloud. A lot of times software terms and conditions do not allow you to deploy on-premise software into the cloud. Or if you do, there's additional cost. So our cloud third-party deployment terms give us the right to deploy our software that we have bought into the cloud and at no additional cost. The no-fee license copies for training, evaluation, and R&D. These are typically perks. And so if you have a training lab that uses some software, you may be able to obtain some copies of those licenses to be able to use that software in that training lab, or if there's any R&D going on, As long as you're not using the software in any type of production, we typically do have these free license available. And then for SaaS products, we do have some terms in there to where they can't throttle the speeds down based on usage or anything like that. So they have to maintain the same speed overall. So again, these are just some examples of how an ESI agreement is providing, in most cases, a better value. It's not just about price. We do provide best value and less risk. So just keep that in mind if you're looking at using an ESI agreement versus buying it some other method. So going into the scope and term and ordering period of the agreements, our scope, all software is available. All the software is available to the DoD by the publisher. Sometimes the publisher may not have software that's available to be purchased by the DoD for one reason or another. So those probably will not be on your product and price list, but we do try, when we're putting these in place, we do try to make sure that all of their products and services are included, which may include software, hardware, and services. But a lot of times our focus is the software side. But again, we are into hardware and services as well. Our ordering periods do range between 5 to 10 years. We do try to put them in place for as long as we can when it makes sense. Any of our agreements that are on NASA SOUP currently under SOUP 5, those will expire when SOUP 5 expires. But we are working with NASA on that transition from SOUP 5 to SOUP 6. So that way, when SOUP 6 is awarded, we will be able to transfer or establish our agreements on the new contract once that is available and reduce any kind of downtime with that. We do have technical refreshes in our agreements where we do regular updates to product and price list. I believe we try to do about every 6 months, make sure that we're getting updated price lists. So that way they can remove any old software or old products and add anything that is new. If there are products missing from the product and price list, more than likely it can be added. So reach out to the publisher, the resellers, and find out if it would be available on ESI. And they would, so if it would be, they would be able to submit a tech refresh to add the software. And typically it's a fairly quick process for us to do it. But if there's any delays, as long as the reseller has submitted their tech refresh, within 5 days after that submission, the terms of the BPA do state that the reseller can make it available for ordering without the addition of it being added or prior to it being added to the product and price list by our team. So just know, we're trying to make sure that it's available to you as quickly as possible. So if it's not, please reach out, communicate with us, and we'll make sure that it is available for you to order and use our agreement. There are some on-ramping and off-ramping provisions in the agreements to you guys, to most people. It really is just, you may see some publishers come and go. You may see some resellers come and go. So always be checking the ESI.mil website. And the ordering guides as well to make sure you have the latest information and what is available. So ESI pricing is based on discounts and will be the final unit price. The final price will have the GSA industrial funding fee or the SOUP fee and the ESI Act fee built into it, and you should not, they should not be broken out separately. As with most ordering vehicles, our ESI prices in the product and price list are the maximum prices. And we recommend that you always ask for additional spot discounts. So even if you've competed the requirement, go back and ask for additional discounts. See if they can go down lower for you. This is also where you get this is where we get a lot of questions about ESI being the best value, because the prices being compared are usually from the product and price list, so the maximum prices. In most cases, not all, but most, you will be quoted lower prices than what is listed in our product and price list. We do review the prices and discounts on an annual basis to see if we can lower them based on actual discounts being offered under the agreements. And again, always consider the non-price terms and conditions along with the price as well for any type of best value. So our ordering guide, as I mentioned earlier, our ordering guides are available on our website. Please make sure you have the latest ordering guide and review it before starting your acquisition. The guide may have been updated since the last time you used ESI. Now we'll move into some of the ordering procedures. So some of our, one second, please. Some of our GSA BPAs have a somewhat unique dealer structure. I'm going to draw your attention to the right side here first with the 3 columns. The first 2 columns is what I would say most contracting professionals are used to when ordering from GSA. You're ordering from a reseller or directly from the OEM or publisher. And they're the ones that have the GSA contract. However, in IT and even furniture, if you're buying that, you will see what are called dealers. These are companies that are authorized to sell on behalf of the GSA contractor using their GSA contract. Dealers are not required to have a GSA contract of their own. However, some of them will. ESI BPAs authorize up to 5 dealers, and they must be named in the BPA. Dealers are the choice and are chosen by the GSA contract holder, not the government. GSA contractors are also required to list their dealers in their schedule, and some have well over 100 dealers listed. Again, ESI, we only authorize 5. So those will be listed in the BPA and the ordering guide. So either way, either if there's dealers or no dealers, really it shouldn't be until you get quotes. You really won't know, and you really shouldn't know either. But you will solicit to the ESA BPA holder. We do not suggest soliciting to the dealers. It is the BPA holder's responsibility to make the solicitation available to their dealers. We also suggest using eBuy as your solicitation method. However, we also suggest allowing responses by email. Dealers will respond on behalf of the BPA holder, and as I mentioned, some of the dealers do not have a GSA contract and will not have access to eBuy. By allowing responses by email, then you can accept those quotes from the dealers. So if you restrict responses to eBuy only, you may not get quotes from dealers, especially if they don't have a GSA contract. Also be cautious that if a dealer has their own GSA contract and you are buying it through ESI, you have to make sure you're buying it through the ESI BPA through the dealer and not utilizing the dealer's GSA contract if they have one. they're not allowed to do that. They have to be selling it off of the BPA holder's GSA contract. Most of our publishers are large businesses, so small business set-asides won't be available due to the non-manufacturing rule. We suggest that you are making sure you are following the applicable set-aside rules and verifying the size status of the publisher. Be cautious if a dealer or reseller is saying you can do a set-aside. Our ordering guide has more information regarding set-asides and dealers as well. When you are issuing your order and a dealer is involved, you can either issue it to the BPA holder in care of the dealer or directly to the dealer. In either case, your reference contract will always be the BPA number. As I mentioned before, you're buying this from the ESI BPA and that BPA holder's GSA contract. Again, the ordering guides have more detail on this. So basic ordering, communicate with the publishers and resellers, communicate early, find out, make sure you're going to be licensing it correctly. Licensing can be very complicated in some cases, so make sure you are communicating and getting licensed correctly. Review most up-to-date ordering guide. I think I've hit that a couple times. Decentralized ordering. Again, they're going to go to your, if you are not in the contracting office, they will be going to your local contracting office. They do not come through the ESI team. If they are a GSA BPA, you will follow FAR 8.405-3C, ordering from BPAs, those procedures. And if it's NASA SOUP or an IADIQ contract, you'll follow 16.505 ordering procedures. You make sure you are using a brand name justification when it is applicable. Review the clauses in the agreement. We do try to make sure we use the latest clauses and we do keep them up to date. So that way when you are ordering, you do not have to worry about adding any additional clauses. You may have to if you have any unique situations, but I would refrain from it unless it is absolutely necessary. Soliciting, ensure you are requesting an ESI quote. Make sure in your solicitation, you are saying it's under the ESI. Verify your quotes, either say ESI or are using the BPA number or the agreement number. Just make sure that it is an ESI quote and they haven't given you some other sort of quote, not through ESI. Again, review the tips in the ordering guide when dealers may be involved, again, specific to GSA BPAs only. Evaluate an award, in probably 99% of the cases, hopefully all the cases, you can just evaluate price and it should be quick and easy. At least that is what our goal is. So wrapping up, the ESI agreements are available to all the DoD, Intel community, and the Coast Guard. ESI agreements reduce cost and your risk. Use of agreements is required by the DFARS. We have 92, currently we have 92 publishers, and with, I believe the actual number is well over 160 resellers. ESI.mil should be your first stop if you have a commercial off-the-shelf software, hardware, or services requirement. Go to ESI.mil just to verify, see if it's available. Again, we got some other useful things for you on there as well, even if you're not using ESI agreement. Our master license agreements are loaded with best-in-class terms. I only went over a few of those today, but we do have a lot. So we do spend a lot of time negotiating those with the publishers, and they are sought after by other agencies and negotiating their own enterprise agreements. Always ask for those spot discounts and always go back to ask for more discounts. And then, as I said several times already, make sure you are reviewing the latest ordering guides as well. Make sure you have the latest information. So please feel free to contact us through our website. Remember, you got the Ask the Experts. You can request additional training. Let us know how we're doing. Provide and asking you some questions if we need to. So with that, we got a few minutes left here, it looks like, to address any of the Q&A. Let's see.
Yes, sir. There were a few questions that came through. It looked like Alex and Dennis were answering a lot of them.
Okay, great.
So 5 already were answered that came through. So we have, let's go to the top of the questions. From Daniel Kim, who are the top 5 agencies utilizing your contract? Dennis replied, no specific order. Army, Navy, Air Force, DISA, and Estate, a 4th Estate. We have one from Steven. It says, just thinking, since Carasoft has a DD 2579 form, does that mean I don't really have a need to get a new form signed for my requirement? Dennis replied, that is correct. We did the DD 2579 at the BPA level. All right. All right. Oh, wow. Okay. So since we do have those answered already, I'll read some of the unanswered one, since we have quite a few. 13 that are unanswered. So we have one at the top. What are instances where we should need to go to NASA SOUP from DoD ESI?
Yeah, so those instances would be if our catalog, or if we have a NASA SOUP catalog versus a GSA BPA, and the publisher's site on the esi.mil website will direct you to NASA SOUP. So you would not find an agreement on NASA SOUP and an agreement on GSA. We do one or the other.
Thank you for that. Yes, Jacqueline, we will send out the copy of the presentation. We have one from Jennifer Yee. Would DoD ESI considering opening fellow-on BPA agreements to agencies that are civilian agencies like DHS, DOE, and others?
I'm not quite sure on the follow-on BPAs, but a lot of times the civilian agencies will come to us for guidance, and we do share items with them. And all of our terms and conditions actually allow for civilian agencies or anyone else in the government to utilize our terms and conditions as well, basically as a copy paste. You wouldn't be able to necessarily tag on to the agreement, but you could use our agreement as your template.
All right. We have another one. So when a dealer is involved, who goes in the box for contractor? In the DoD call order form, the dealer or the BPA holder?
Yeah, so Paul, the ordering guides, we have provided screenshots, so you can see a depiction of what it would look like. And really, it depends on how you want to do it and your agency's or contracting office's procedures and what your contract writing system will or will not allow you to do. So you can either put the dealer in the to box, or you can put the BPA holder in care of the dealer. Just to note on that, if you were to do it to the BPA holder in care of the dealer, the BPA holder does have to invoice. And if you were to put the dealer in only, then the dealer has to invoice on behalf of the BPA holder, and that's all in DFARS when they submit their when they submit their invoices. They'll go through, and that's who basically. That's really ultimately the only difference. Just make sure that your referenced contract number is the BPA number in there as well. So, yeah,
right.
looks like the next. Okay.
Yep. The next one is where can I find the ordering guide on the ESI.mil website?
So that would be if you go to the publishers page or section on the website, you find your publisher. I'll use Microsoft as an example. You click on Microsoft, it will take you to the publisher's page. And in there, you will see a button to click on for the ordering guide. You click on that and you can download the ordering guide from there.
Thank you. All right, we have another one. Just to make sure I do not mess up my new RFQ. So if Carasoft has 5 dealers, all of them quote, when I create the award, I only reference the ESI BPA for Carasoft, disregarding the E by GSA number for the dealer that actually quoted.
Yes. So when you're dealing with dealers, some of them dealers will have their own GSA contract. Some of them will not. Even if they have their own GSA contract, you do not issue the order to that dealer and their contract. It has to be issued to the BPA holder's GSA contract. So be aware of that. We have heard stories of some dealers saying, oh, no, just issue it to my GSA contract. Not a problem. That is not appropriate. That is not what GSA wants. That is not their rules. It has to be issued to the BPA holder's GSA schedule.
Okay. I assume it's to be BPA order in case of the dealer. I don't know if this is a add-on question to one earlier from Paul Moores. I assume it's to the BPA holder in case of the dealer.
Yeah, I think that goes back to the other question I already answered.
Right. Yep. Are we able to get these slides? Yes, we will send out the slides. When a DoD ESI BPA has one BPA holder and no other dealers, do we need to reference the BPA number and should not reference Carasoft GSA's contract numbers?
Correct. When there is a BPA, you would reference the BPA number versus the, so even Carasoft, because you're saying Carasoft there. Yes, you would use the BPA number versus their basic contract number for GSA.
So again, thank you, Larry, for spending the time, and thanks everyone for spending the day with us and learning more about the ESI initiative. So thank you for reaching out and joining us today, and thank you for all of the knowledge that you have provided. And we hope that we will invite you on later in a few months so we can get some more updates on this great initiative.